Welcome back for week 7, where I made a few parts and broke a few tools. It's going to look a lot like previous weeks where I just run the mill and the bandsaw. I've been figuring out the process to get the part how I want it, and then I can start working on the other ones, and those should go a lot faster. This week I worked on making accurate holes and using the back chamfer tool, which I'm not really sure about yet, so I'll probably change that up for next week. But I did successfully make 4 little gears, which means only 10,000 to go. Here I'm milling holes, trying to get them within 1/1000th of an inch accuracy. The first one is just milled the usual way. The next one has a finishing pass, which means it takes one more cut that's very light. And then the final one also has a spring pass, which means you cut the hole exactly the same a second time. When you cut into the metal and then let the tool off, the metal relaxes a little bit, it grows again, and that's the part that the spring pass cuts off, which in this case was another 0.003 of an inch. Next step is to push in the bearings, which are actually just little bronze circles, and they're meant to squeeze into the hole and collapse a little bit so that the right diameter on the inside. So I have my 3 different holes that I pushed the bushings into. Got my axle. Doesn't fit into the smaller 2. Does fit into the larger one, but it wobbles a little bit, so when it's sliding up and down, you can see it can get caught there. Now some oil on that might help, but I'm going to try making the hole very slightly smaller and also very slightly bigger to see if either of those help instead. So I did the other 2 holes. One was 1/1000th of an inch bigger, and I think that's the best one so far. It slides pretty nice. It does get caught, but I think that's mostly because this piece is heavier on that side than on that side, so it angles down. And then I did 1/1000th of an inch smaller, which actually ended up being 2/1000 smaller. And that one's, I think that one's too tight. If it was only spinning, then that would be great, but since it also has to slide, it doesn't work as well. So I think I found the right size. Next up is cutting another pinion gear where I first broke another tool. Here's my drill going too fast down into the part and breaking off the tip. Here's the parts I made today, which each have tiny differences that are too small to see on the camera. Mostly it's how sharp the edges are, or how smooth the cutting finish is. The problem I have with the back chamfer tool is that when it goes into this edge, it's cutting with about 1/3 of the tool, and then when it goes into here, it has to cut with more like 2/3 of the tool, and that makes it chatter and you get lines. That doesn't happen on the front side because the tool is a smaller diameter, so instead of going in and out, it's scooping. So this week I'll probably be redoing my setup so I don't have to use this tool, which is probably a good idea because this is a $60 tool and this one is about $10. This went much faster when I was making parts out of plastic and it would just melt instead of breaking tools. And I'm still breaking tools fairly regularly. The next tool I tried, which I didn't break, is for making screw threads. Previously I've done it with a tap, which looks like a screw with teeth, and that's a manual process that just drills down and creates those threads. But instead, this is using the mill. You can see it goes down into the hole and then spirals on the way up, and that makes the thread, and the screw just goes right in. This week it's going to be more of the same, working on this gear to get it exactly how I want it, and then I'll be moving on to these next pieces. So I'll leave you with some Solidworks Designing, where I'm trying to decide on how the vertical parts of the frame will be mounted, if they're going to be drilled straight through or using these L brackets that I'm adding holes for.